Yes, once again, it's me, KNG. Yeah, let's talk about what we're going to talk about is black people with tipping and gifting. Ooh, wee. Come on, somebody hear me if you know what the rock is cooking. So, the thing about it, we're going to go from the beginning. We're going to go from impoverished communities with subservient behaviors, right? So, typically, back in the day, you had uh, these melanated brothers and sisters having to work for what they call the Caucasian. So they were the ones that would tip on the trains. Shout out to Malcolm X um, and other people that worked on the trains where they would receive tips for giving service to those people that are on the train. Now, tips originally started in America because they were tipping black people, so-called blacks, I should say, didn't have a wage. They were making money off of tips, and that is one of the things that has stayed with America. So, and it's pretty much exclusive to America. Most people in the other parts of the world make a wage from service, and then people would also tip on top of that if they are so inclined. So you had tips coming from black people receiving tips, never giving tips, right? So they didn't know tipping policy, they didn't know tipping protocol and procedure. They only had the one end of that spectrum, which is to receive the tips and be gracious for the tips, right? But then they were integrated. They were now in the other role of not being the servant but being served, and because they had no idea of this role that they had entered into, they didn't know what the protocol and procedure was when it came to tips. It was like, this is new to me. I'm paying for my meal. This should be all I need to pay for, right? Um, Basically, because now coming into where they were able to sit and dine, it's not like they were able to, they weren't in a position where they had so much money they can throw it around. No, they had enough money to eat at a slightly expensive restaurant. You know what I mean? They had enough to barely get some red lobster. You know what I mean? So it was going from poverty to going to, yeah, let's go out and get a meal. We don't have to cook every night. Let's let's dine out today because obviously we are looking to be more like them, uh, those that were in that seat prior, those that we emulate, whether they want to admit it or not. But we wanted to go out and show that we have made a level of success because our success is basically what we have seen from you already know that. So we go and we do what has been done to think that we are at an equal plateau playing field by going out and buying and this is always the problem, going out and buying our respect, right? I'm able to afford XYZ, so basically, I'm on par. I'm neck and neck. I bought this. My kids gonna have nothing. Anyway, let's get back to it. So they get into the position that they've never been in before. They have no idea what to get, what to give when it comes to tips, and they give the twos and fews. They give the I pay for the meal. They should pay you, right? I'm paying enough for this food. You know what I mean? So not knowing a percentage, you know what I mean? Like, what is gratuity? What is an additional amount that should be offered to the wait staff, to the servers? You know what I mean? So, without having any conceptualism about how I need to go about uh, making sure or understanding, first of all, that they're not well paid. Their pay is based on a old so-called Negro system of you work and whites will be generous, so-called whites will be generous enough to give you money if you please them. So if so-called whites are pleased, they will give money to so-called Negroes. Now that the Negro is in the seat of the white, so-called white, then he should be pleased and act accordingly. But the so-called Negro was never taught by the so-called white on how to uh, show their appreciation, their being pleased, satisfied, and gratuity. So now you have this. I'm sitting in the seat and don't know the arrangement that this seat entails. Now, obviously, we should have done away completely with uh, tipping through integration, right? Um, but this is something that holds true to today. Like, you aren't dismantling the system with integration, you're just allowing someone to sit at the table, literally, right? You're talking about the people going up and sitting at the counter, but there was never a passing of information up until maybe two generations after Jim Crow segregation, right? So this is the span of information delay. You know what I mean? So you have um, segregation and two generations after. So during segregation, you had so-called whites getting insurance, life insurance. You had them passing down inheritance and generational wealth. It takes two generations to even speak on generational wealth in the so-called black community. So you have that conversation of financial literacy two generations after. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about the 60s, we're not talking about until roughly the 90s. You know what I'm saying? That people are actually having that type of conversation about what is money, how money can be made, how money can be generated, how it works for you, so on and so forth, at a large level. Not a massive level, but not a minuscule level either. So people talking about it, but many didn't understand, but they were talking. So now I'm gonna wrap this up because it's gotten almost 10 minutes. So let me know what you think about tips with black people and so-called blacks. I gotta say that though. I gotta say that because things have been put in place. You know what I mean? Like tipping, like these crayon colors, the red man, the black man, the white man. In America, that doesn't make sense. So we have to question it. We have to see exactly why. I don't want to be called African American. I don't want to be called black. I don't want to be called anything that somebody is telling me I need to check a box. What do you mean? Check what box? What are you talking about? Right? You take your power away when somebody names you. You have to name yourself. Um, so I say that to say I have to say the so-called because you can understand it, and now you understand the reason behind the so-called. Um, Let me know what you think about tipping, about how we get to a level of tipping, how do we understand tipping, or gratuity, or paying for a service and showing our appreciation and that we are pleased with a nominal amount, a fee, or a certain, addition to whatever was required. Um, Put that thing down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna make a part 2 of this going over gifts. Oh, wait. So, we out. Peace out.